But honestly, enough of the art lesson and the science lesson.
You turn it
Did I what? Oh, you're not talking to me, okay. The natural flow of water offers some parallels, I think, to our lives. Not only turbulence, but other parts of our lives. And we're going to be talking about that. For this lesson, we're going to be using the Gasconade River in Missouri. It's 280 miles long. It's the only river in the state of Missouri that's completely contained within the borders of the state. And it's known as the crookedest river in the world. I think that's by a Missourian there, so I'm not saying it's true. But that really isn't the reason I selected it. My brother, big brother Dave, who passed away a year ago, had a cabin overlooking the Gasconade and a neat deck out there where we watch the sunset every night with the beverage of our choice. And we started floating it. He floated it for years with his good friend Joe Jeter. And we started floating it in 2003. That's my brother Dave. That's my son Jason, a good friend of his that went on this float with us, Scott. That's my brother Dick. That's Joe Jeter, Dave's best friend, and that's me, little fat boy on the end. And that was right before we got in. So our canoes were all in the water, our gear was all put in there, and Nelda, Joe's wife, took that picture of us. We named the tradition, which stood for Fleming Family and Friends Fish and Float Trip. And so I did a caricature of it, put it on t-shirts, so that everybody could have a t-shirt to commemorate it. Then we tried to do it every year. It didn't quite work out that way, but we did quite a few of them at any rate. So we're going to look at the Gasconade because the different aspects of water mirrors kind of the trip that we take in our lives. There's some real similarities. Rivers have a beginning and an end, and we do too. And in between those 2 points, they got a lot of twists and turns. And they got some places where the water is quite turbulent, and they got some places where it's nice and smooth, and some places where it doesn't seem to move at all. We're going to talk about all those. So let's begin our trip. Oh, wait. Before we do, let's get the Gasconade. We actually camped on this gravel bar. There was 5 of us that time. This was 2015. It's the last time my oldest brother floated with us. And I'd kind of like everybody to, whoops, let's move forward. Do another forward. Okay, so now we're starting to set the scene. So you can kind of put yourself in the river. That's kind of what it sounds like standing on the bank, but you know, that still doesn't quite do it. I mean, if we're going to guide this group, I mean, I really got to get more into it. It goes in my hearing aid. It's okay, I don't have to hear me to do it. All right, no, that's better. That's much better. Look at Militant Chris is going to be out there. Awful sunscreen. There. No, it's not good. I never went in a long sleeve shirt. That doesn't work. I didn't wear these shoes out there, so. Oh, why not? We don't need these either. Okay, there we go. No more. I'm having bushes some bushes. Okay, we ready? All right, let's get going. is our first move around the bend. And it's called the Gasconade, going nowhere fast. This is a place on the river, and there's a lot of them, unfortunately, where you come there and it's safe. It's boring. You see those little pieces of stuff on the water? That's because they're not going anywhere. And guess what? They're not either. The only way you go someplace is you paddle. And you know, if you don't paddle, you don't get anywhere. And if you think about it, sometimes our lives are that way, aren't they? Yeah, we have times in our life where we seem like we're in a holding pattern. We're waiting for that new job. We're waiting for, I don't know, getting old enough where we can drive. Getting old enough where we can go in the liquor store legally. There's all these kinds of things. The next life event, you know, getting married, finding someone to love that loves you, all those kinds of things. Maybe test results. We can really find ourselves in stagnant water when we're waiting on test results, can't we? Psalms 27:14 says, wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently. Then Harry Chapin said, and the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man in the moon, when you coming home, Dad? I don't know when, but we'll get together again soon. You know, we'll have a good time then. Sometimes when we get in that holding pattern, we've got to find a way out of it. And then there's smooth sailing. This is a portions of the river where the current is perfect. I mean, you don't really have to paddle. All you have to do is a little course correction here and there. You're going by, you see that big log, you can easily fish that big log when there's nothing there when I fish it. But you can make it to all the things you want to do. You can really enjoy yourself and not expend a whole lot of effort. And I think we've all had that time in our life when things are going smooth. I hope everybody's had that time in their life, because you're going to need it for some of those others, don't you? Okay. Last times at Ridgemont High. There's also some places on the river where the water is fast. This is a class 1-2 river, so no real white water like you see in the movies, but some places that'll get your attention. But this is not that. This is just where the water is moving a little too fast, and you can't stop. You can't get by the things you want to get by because you're just moving too fast. I think our lives, if you think back about your life, there's certainly been times that were that way. And as you were talking about that need to slow down, we find times where they're not bad, but we're just going so fast that we don't take time to do those things. We don't hold that door because we got to get in and get our order in. Where we don't find time for important things like family or health. We were talking earlier today, Jane and I were talking earlier today about how different it is for our kids and our grandkids these days. There's no one season sport, it's 12 months. And then there's travel ball. And then if your kids aren't in some activities, well, Lord knows they're not going to get in a good school. And so they need to be in activities, and then grades, oh my gosh, yeah. You gotta have the grades, because also you won't get in a good school. And we've become this society where everything's fast. Our information's fast. Social media puts pressure on us to do well, and we're held up to light. And some of those things out there, the pace of information is astonishing. For many, church is no longer relevant. Remember when nobody played games on Sundays? And stores were closed on Sundays. We were forced to kind of slow down. Well, that's a long time ago. Days of mom telling us to go outside and play. I'll let you know when it's time to eat. I don't want to see you in here unless you really want to go clean up your room. Enough said, Mom, see ya. Sometimes there's just value in stepping back and doing nothing. If Ken Meyer were here, he would tell you that that's one of the great things about hunting. If you're sitting in a blind, the sun's coming up, it's quiet out. You see all of Mother Nature open up. Sure, it's about getting something that you're hunting for. But I've seen things that you'd never see unless you were sitting there. Even out dove hunting, I was sitting there, it's hotter than Hades, and I heard something, I looked down, there's a field mouse about that big. He was eating some seeds off of the wheat there. It's just things that you'd never see if you don't be still. And I think we're all guilty of that. We keep moving a little too fast. You lose that, what Gigi said, was those perfect moments. Whitewater ahead. As calm as a Gasconade can be, it can be a little angry. And you know, when I did this lesson, started it a long time ago, because Jim can tell you it takes me a long time, because I send him stuff over periods of months. And he said, can you just wait? But he's been very patient with me. I really thought about this because of what's happened in our state, down in the hill country. We have a complex relationship with water, don't we? It's essential for our bodies. We can't live without it. It's recreational, we love it. We swim, we boat, we ski, we fish, we do all kinds of things that are around water. And you were talking about the wow. Think about the wows of a sunset over the Gulf, or over a lake, or over a river. It's beautiful. When it's in its solid form, it can be a problem for us, and people suffer as a result of it. It's hard on humans and wildlife alike. When there's not enough of it, it's a problem. Farmers and ranchers suffer. Our water bills go up, our lawns turn brown. And then we've seen in Texas some boats that were in their slip that are now on the ground. So it's a complex relationship. And when it gets too much, Ron and I have experienced that, but not on the scale or anything close to what happened down south. And it floods. It can be, at the very best, damaging. And we saw what it can be at the very worst. We will continue to pray for those people and their recovery. And Gigi, your lesson, Evan Alexander, we've got a good idea where those folks are now. And so that gives some comfort, although that doesn't change the grief that those families are feeling. But I've gotten lost here. That's not unusual. These whitewater, the rapids that are there, if you've got the skill and you know they're coming, you see them coming, you're gonna make it through it, okay? These are class 2 rapids. They're not anything real scary. They do get your attention. And we'll talk about sometimes when they really get your attention, but if you're not that skilled or if you're not paying attention, this is my youngest and oldest son, and they weren't paying attention. Then you get to take a bath, and so does your gear, which they did. But a canoe takes 2 people working together. The person in the stern does most of the steering, the person in the bow does whatever the person in the stern tells them to be smart. But sometimes our lives kind of mirror this. You're going around so fast. Do you ever feel like if you make the wrong turn, wrong move, you might end up upside down? Have you ever gotten to the point where in your family or your work relationships, you weren't paddling together with the other people? You weren't in concert? And things weren't working the way you wanted them to work? Psalms 55:5 says, "Fear and trembling overwhelm me, and I can't stop shaking." Well, that's pretty true when you look at some of those rapids up there. But I will call on God, and the Lord will rescue me morning, noon, and night. I cry out in my distress, and the Lord hears my voice. In Philippians, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. So we can make it through those times. But as Jelly Roll said, and as you said earlier, we kind of get stuck on help, don't we? Our conversations. We were talking about turbulence in several ways. This was a couple of years ago in New Mexico. We're getting ready to go there again to escape some of the weather here for a week. But we had driven by. Our oldest granddaughter and her husband had stayed with us for a while, and they'd gone home. And we'd driven by the Rio Grande and looked at it. And I saw a guy, Mike would appreciate this, I saw a guy pull a brown trout out like this on the far shore. And I told Rob, I said, "I'm coming here tomorrow morning. And I'm gonna do this." I saw where he was. So I got all geared up. My gear is very elementary. I don't have felt bottoms. It's just good old rubber bottoms. I don't have a staff or anything to stabilize myself, but I thought, you want to, I can go over there. Well, this is me starting. I was smiling then. We didn't get an active picture. But I got out about where you can see where my head is now. I got out to about that point in the river. I was up about mid-thigh. And what I'd found going out there is I couldn't see the bottom. It was just stirred up a lot. And it wasn't like those smooth gravel stones, you know, like we saw in the gas tank. No, it was boulders. And they're covered with slime. And you would step on them, and you put your weight down, and your foot would go between two boulders. Well, I got out to the middle, and I stopped, and I looked at the shore, and I thought, I don't think I can make it. And if I do make it, I know I can't get back. So I actually just froze there. I couldn't move forward. I didn't think I could turn around. So I went through my mental checklist. Don't need the rod. Get rid of this net. You do have a band underneath this. These things can fill up with water, so you have a band around the top so the water doesn't get in. I thought, okay, you're going to go in. Get your feet up, lean back. Don't try to fight it. Hopefully you won't hit a big rock, and at some point you'll come back to shore. So I had to have that little mental thing before I could start. I almost fell about 4 times, just turning around. And I don't know how long it actually took me to get back to the shore. But it seemed like a damn long time, I'll tell you that.
Gary, but the one thing you didn't think about was trying to reach me because you knew I was worthless in that situation.
I had enough problems. I didn't even have someone screaming at me from the shore. Why did you do that?
I was sitting in the car reading a book.
We're going to talk some more about you reading in just a minute. In fact, I'll use the next slide. But we can get that way in our lives. We can get into a situation where we have paralysis. We can't move. It just feels like anything we do, and we're going under. And you wonder which way to turn. And certainly that is where Jelly Roll starts saying, I only talk to God when I need a favor. Because that's when the conversation really opens up right there. There's other kinds of turbulence too. One of them is a little different than turbulence. On the Gasconade, there's occasionally, especially when you've had weather, but it can be any time. there's huge trees along the edge of it. There's some places where you have just soaring bluffs that you go along. It is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. But sometimes you'll come around a bend and a tree has fallen. The trees there aren't little. The tree has fallen and it may completely block the river there. Or it may block most of the river there. And if you're in swift water and you're on this side and the place to get is over that side, good luck. You just gotta have enough distance. I can tell you that sometimes you don't have enough distance. And this is the same thing that happens in our life sometimes. You just reach a blockade. You either have to go around it, you have to get out in portage. Again, that assumes you don't have a bluff over on this side, because that's what you're close to. You find a gravel bar and get up on it, get in shallow water, pull the canoe out, lift it with your buddy. That's when having a big brother was really good. He could carry the whole thing, but you're gonna have to get around it. Or you're gonna have to find that little place that you can get over it. I have been under them, I will recommend it. The canoe goes under it too, by the way. So, it's a scary time. It's, it can happen, things beyond our control can happen, health things, work things, relationship things. It's tough to get through those. As I said, turbulence is not always apparent. Sometimes turbulence can be unseen. We were on a trip. One of the times we were up there, it was fall. And my brother and I talked Rhonda, and as I said, my brother and I think it was me who talked Rhonda into going on the float. She's not a real fan of water. But it was fall, it was gorgeous. Niagara River is another little river. It's easy, it's class 1, 2. And the leaves were beautiful. It's a spring-fed river. So we got in that. My brother was in the stern, in control, because he's so good at that, so skilled. I was in the bow. Rhonda was in the middle, in a beach chair. I think she might have had a paddle, I never saw it in her hand. But she was in a beach chair, and she did have a book. And so she was reading, and of course she had a life jacket. I think the deepest is probably about this deep, but she had her life jacket. So it was great. I mean, it was a little chilly, but not bad. And we were going along, and we were coming up to this pool that we'd always stop and fish this pool because we had another stream that came in. It was spring-fed as well, and there was some trout that would come down, and every now and then we'd catch trout there. Well, this day, that stream that came in from the left was coming stronger, and we didn't see it, and it saw us. We were over.
Oh, goodness.
Rhonda came up under the canoe,
Oh, no.
so I grabbed her and took her to the shore. Dave and I got the canoe to shore, then we went back in to try to find our gear. We found almost all of it. However, I do have to report that Rhonda's book and her good humor all down But we were able to get everything back in the boat, and we were soaked, and we were a little chilly, but I thought, still pretty, it's a short float, it'll be fine. And we went around the next bend. Remember that tree thing? Yeah, blocking the whole river. Where the root ball was, there's just about this much water, about that wide, going over it. We were in very fast water. My brother was so skilled, he had us back paddling. He and I were back paddling as hard as we could to stop, basically try to stop. And he maneuvered us over there so that we'd hit it straight on. And we did. And stuck. So, there's no getting out. So we all got on the scooter. We got over, and the rest of the trip was quiet, but non-eventful. And I will tell you this, that I attempted, and you're not surprised at this, my attempts to lighten the mood and put a positive spin on this fell flat with someone. It was a very quiet float. Robin Williams is an example of someone with hidden turbulence. He's a comedian, always the guy with the quick joke that suffered every day of his life. Some of us have been. We gotta go to work, we got our family, we don't wanna get anybody upset, so we just push it down, we go on. And we all know there's not much else you can do that's worse than that. But it's just hard to get it out sometimes. We're fortunate here. Look around you. I've never seen a better group of caring people. So if it's happening to you, reach out. You can talk to God. He knows that we can talk to him. We need a favor. And still loves us. Professionals, we have some in this room. There's nothing wrong with seeing a professional. In fact, it can be the best thing in the world for you, so find a way around it. Okay, so let's kind of go back over this. What's a term for the portion of the river that's practically still? Anybody remember? Stagnant, that's right. Great. Somebody's paying attention. Wake up, Gigi. What about the term for the portions where the channel narrows and the water's going very fast? Rapids? And I don't think I told you the term, but when turbulence is under the water, sometimes that can be a whirlpool. I've gotten in one of those swimming pools, that's pretty interesting, because it pulls you down. Spits you out, but it pulls you down for a while. And then the term for the condition where there's a hole in the water. Oh, we didn't cover that. We're gonna cover that in a minute. Oh, I went backwards. No, I went backwards here. Okay. Well, there's some facts here. The facts are this. We can't change the river. You can't change that river. And you can't know exactly what's going to come around that next event. And that's the same with our lives. We can't change this trip that we're on. We can't know what's going to happen next. But there are things we can do to navigate those portions of our lives and of the river. Maybe we can do things to make sure that we're equipped. Kenny Chesney recorded a song about this, and I'm going to try to do it, not too much damage. I told Gigi and Mike that since my shoulder operation, this has been kind of a long process to pick this thing back up and be able to play. In fact, I asked several times when I could, and they said, not now. But I did start back in. And then yesterday, I thought it would be a great idea to get out and cut. We had some people come and trim our trees and had big logs out in our creek bank. So I went down there with the chainsaw and worked. It might not have been the smartest thing, but we'll see how we get through this. How the last few months have changed. despite the pain. I breathe in, and I breathe out. Got friends to call who let me talk about what ain't working and what's still hurting, and all the things I feel like cussing out. Now and then I let it go. I ride the waves I can't control. I'm learning how to build a better boat. I hate waiting. Ain't no patience in these hands. I'm not complaining. Sometimes it's hard to change a man. Think I'm stronger than I was. I let God do what He does. I breathe in, I breathe out. Got friends to call who let me talk about what ain't working and what's still hurting, and all the things I feel like cussing out. Now and then I let it go. I ride the waves I can't control. I'm learning how to build a better boat. I breathe in, I breathe out. Got friends to call who let me talk about what ain't working and what's still hurting, all those things we all feel like cussing out. Now and then I let it go. I ride the waves I can't control. If it's working, I don't know. When I get done, the same may not float, but I'm learning how to build a better boat. This may not have been the wisest thing. And that's the solution. We gotta build a better boat. We can't change those other things. I'm taking this off. We can't change those other things, but we can make sure that our human vessels are as strong as they can be. We had some hunting land, you've heard me talk about before. We had 70 acres in East Texas. And it got to the point where it was owning us. We weren't owning it. And some changes need to be made because of Mike, as you indicated, aging out. We already found out I aged out of the Rio Grande, so that's okay. But we found out that lifting 40-pound bags of corn, putting in feeders, and doing food plots over and over again just was getting a little bit too hard. Plus it kept us from doing a lot of things that we wanted to do. So we sold the land, and I thought, well, that's a pretty smart thing to do. And you can't be smart that long, so you gotta do something stupid. So remember that hole in the water? That's a boat. A boat is a hole in the water that you throw money in. So I found it needing something to be filled with nonsense and lots of time and lots of work. And so I bought a boat, a used boat, and worked on it, and was gonna take it out, never took it out, and then had a little thing about a shoulder surgery. I asked them, I said, well, when can I take it out? They said, not now. So I finally got it out, and we got it at Lake Oconee right now. The point is that a boat, you've got to have a well-maintained boat. You've got to have a motor that operates well. You've got to give it the right kind of fuel and have enough of it. You've got to have good batteries. They've got to be charged up. And not only that, but you've got to have stuff in it. You've got equipment that you need to have a good vessel, to take care of whatever the water throws at you out there. A good map. You see that up there? That's a good thing. How about a good operating manual? Well, we kind of got that, don't we? If we just read it. And then this is something that I learned about early on. I got my boat back and I looked at it and I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes under the water line? I think I ought to be worried. Turns out there's only one of those that are really important to me, I think. And it's that bottom one. When you pull a plug out of it, you always get water when you're out because water comes in. When you get spray and things like that, you pull this out and it drains all the water that's in the hole. If you don't put it in, over here, this is a bilge switch. You can't keep up with it. You can't get it out as fast as it can come in. So that's a good preparation. And I'd like to find the analogy in your life to put a plug in it, but I don't know that that really works. So, but that's some of the hard lessons we learn. But you see fuel, battery, you check all those things, have a map, have an idea of where you're going. This is a fish finder. It also tells you when you're getting into too shallow water. It can give you an alert to keep you from running aground. Fire extinguisher, that's the one that always puzzled me. I'm in something surrounded by water. But I will tell you, it's one of the most essential things on a boat, because there are boat fires every year and people die. Life jackets. I don't know if you've heard about the Lake Tahoe, the boat that capsized in Lake Tahoe. I guess Lake Tahoe's huge because they said they had 8-foot waves, 8 to 10 foot waves, and it capsized in. Only 2 people survived that. One of them had that on, the other caught it. And I read the account from the survivors. When the waves, they were taking on water really badly. And yet nobody got the life jacket on, except for one person. Not only do you have to have life jackets, you gotta have something you can throw to somebody that's in the water. And that dock line is just to keep you secured when you reach a safe place. And then an anchor. Why do we need that? Remember those times when things are going by too fast? Maybe you find a great fishing hole. Out on the lake, the wind moves you wherever it wants to. Or maybe it's just that you want to let the kids get out and play in a nice cove, quiet cove. We need well-maintained, seaworthy humans as well. So how did we build a better boat? Are our vessels well cared for? Carol taught a lesson once on the things that we need to do. How do we feed our minds, our bodies, and our souls the right thing? Do we have the right equipment and resources? Do we have a group of family and friends that we can count on? People we can talk to? Dog and God? That little lesson? They would stay with me all day. I'm the one who walks away. Are we walking the right place? Well, I wanted to check with an expert. And I've watched this person through their entire life. And I think they have some wisdom that I want to share with you today. This is our great-granddaughter, Sophia. And we do have some lessons from Sophia. The first one is smile. Even when you're sick, it's part of the trip. So get over yourself. Play. We still need to play. We all need to recreate. Eat healthy foods, that's easy. Stop when you're full, not quite so easy. Have an occasional treat. You can see that she really liked a fruit popsicle. Here in the bottom picture. Take naps. Yeah, those are okay too. try again and again. I watched her try and learn to walk. And if you ever watch these kids, they don't get discouraged. They fall, and they get up, and they keep falling, and they keep getting up. And we seem to lose that somewhere along the way. We hit a roadblock and we want to stop. Accept setbacks, which you did. Cry occasionally, that's okay. Ask for what you need and what you want. Get someone bigger and stronger who loves you to help you. We've got that too, don't we? Another thing that I didn't get on here, and I've observed this about her over and over again. Live in this moment. Don't worry about regrets, what happened yesterday. Don't worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. Now, so watch that. Boy, she does that. There will be a slight charge for this lesson. Mark 6, late that night, the disciples were in their boat in the middle of the lake, and Jesus was alone on land. He saw that they were in serious trouble, rowing hard and struggling against the wind and waves. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came towards them, walking on the water. He spoke to them at once. Don't be afraid, he said. Take courage, I'm here. And he climbed into the boat, and the wind stopped. So who's in your boat? Who's in my boat? More importantly, whose hand on the tiller?